There we go. All things are go. So awesome, awesome. Welcome, all of you wise women on the rise. As you hop on today, I would love for you just to say hello so that we know you're here. I'm going to be looking for comments on my phone, on Facebook on my phone, so that if you have questions as we go along, feel free to drop them in the comments and we will be sure to answer them all. So first of all, I'm Kim Bomberger. I'm a women's portrait photographer. I specialize in beauty, branding, and boudoir photography. And I'm the host of this show, Women on the Rise. Here we talk with inspiring, empowered women who are dreaming new dreams, creating their legacies, and building their empires. And today I have the pleasure of introducing my good friend, Martha Trice. Martha
Hello.
is a native of Jacksonville, and she and her husband lived in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Charleston, South Carolina, where their musical opportunities took them for 22 years. But for 16 years, they've been back in their hometown, and we're so glad they are. Martha is an accomplished musician. She has taught piano and voice for 35 years, and she made a brand new master of reinvention move here because she is currently a realtor with 904 Realty, where she and her son Travis are the Trice team, and they were the top agents in the first quarter of 2023. So also Martha's a breast cancer survivor, and she wrote a book while she was going through her treatment called Reflections. And that she wrote as an encouragement to all women, no matter what we're going through, to stay strong in your faith and move forward in life, no matter your circumstances. So welcome, welcome, Martha. So glad to have you here.
Thank you.
So first, do you want to talk a little bit and just tell us about what that was like, making a big career change? Like, you were in your 60s, right?
Yes.
When you did that. And so tell us about, well, like, was it scary?
Okay.
What did you have to overcome to get from where you were to where you wanted to be?
Well, it was a big change, but in the past, everything you do in your life kind of prepares you for the future, and you don't even know what that future is
For
sometimes.
sure.
And I had done a tour of homes in Charleston, South Carolina, within our church there. And so I'd work with women in their homes. It kind of evolved into a little small home decorating business. And then when I moved to Raleigh, I met a real close friend there, and we started doing a staging business. So I really enjoyed homes. I think that the big thing is I love to see what's behind those doors. And sometimes it can be entertaining. And, when breast cancer kind of came my way, I had a friend that said to me, you really need to do real estate. And she was very successful in Charleston, and her son did it together. And I was thinking, oh my goodness. So I couldn't stop thinking about it. I called Travis and I said, I know this is in left field, but I want to tell you what I want to do. And I want you to do it with me. And at first he was like, oh, I don't know, Mom. I don't know. And
Because he was in nonprofit at the time, right?
yes,
Like this,
exactly.
so this was a big career shift for him
Yes.
as
Yes.
well.
Right. But I kind of knew his skills. He has great management skills. And so anyway, within a few, I guess about 2 weeks, he called me. He said, Mom, I want to do it. We're going to go to school together and we're going to build a business. And that's what we did. So it was, and my friend in Charleston, Belinda Fox, she was a great encourager because she was doing the same thing with her son. And so anyway, that's how we got started. And we went to school, got our license. And I think the big thing that works for us is Travis and I have such different gifts. And, the learning curve of it was bigger than I thought it was going to be. And so, we kind of fill in where each other lack and try to work on our strengths and let those strengths, take us forward in the business.
Well, and it's been obviously so successful for you in just a couple of years, right? 3 years?
No, it's been 5.
Oh,
We've
wow,
completed
time
5
flies.
years. I know, 5 years, and then I think, at the end of September, it'll be 6 years. So,
Okay. And
mhm,
you have quickly, though, that's pretty quick. And a lot of businesses fail in the first 5 years, as you know, when you start a new
yeah,
business. And so for you to have started from scratch, neither of you being in the business at all, to creating this business together and achieving
mm.
top level in your company.
Oh,
Congratulations. That
thank
is
you,
huge.
thank you, and he's
So
fun to work with. I love working with my son. It's really a precious opportunity. I
So
just love
that
it.
brings in a whole new level too of getting to
Mhm.
actually work with your
Yeah,
son and have those
yeah,
experiences together. I
yeah,
love that. I love that. And to be able to complement each other, because you do a lot of the showing of homes, right? And you do
right,
staging in them because you
right,
have those skills. And then he handles a lot of the tech side from what I understand.
right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Beautiful. Just such a
Yeah.
beautiful blend. I
And
love that.
Travis is it's fun. He's kind of a problem solver. And we'll go into a house, or we'll be working on a rental home, or most of the time it's sales. But we were looking at this rental home one time, and you know, I saw this dust on the floor, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what is that?" And in my mind, I went, "Oh my gosh, it's termites! It's termites!" And I just freak out. And Travis goes, "Oh, that's not a big deal. I'll call so and so, so and so. We'll have somebody there in the morning." So his problem solving skills is huge.
That's
It's a great
amazing.
thing. Mhm.
That is so amazing. So, and then now you and Robbie have been married 50 years now,
Yes,
you and
50 years.
yeah. And so that's 50 years of just accumulation of
Oh, stuff.
everything, of all of the things, right? And
Yes,
so
yeah.
and I think that's been a year ago now too, that time is
Mhm.
going so quickly, that you guys made the decision that you were going to downsize.
Yes,
So tell
yes.
us about that. Like, how do you know? How do you know when you need to downsize, and how did you know that that was right for you?
Well, the first thing is, you have to look at 2 or 3 things. And the first one is your age and your health. And not only your own health, but if you're married, you need to look at your husband's health.
Hmm.
Or if you're a single person, can I handle this house? Can I handle all the responsibilities that come with it? Because when you hit certain ages, either you're going to do the things yourself, or you're going to pay somebody to do it in order to keep it up to par, and keep a house like it needs to be in condition. And so I was having this health issues with the breast cancer. And even, I guess it was 8 years before that, my husband had a massive heart attack. And I'm laughing, but I'm like, oh gosh, but it was 10 years before. And I remember during that little transition time when he was out of commission, there was mornings that I got up and mowed the front yard, mowed the backyard, and cleaned the pool. And then I went to work with another job that I was at. And I look back and I go, how in the world did I do that? But I filled in the gap because he wasn't able to. Okay, so 6 years later, 8 years later, I end up with breast cancer. And so little by little, I realized, this is too much for you. We had not a large house, but it was 4 bedrooms and a pool, about 2,000 square foot.
And a big lot.
Oh, yes, yes. The upkeep of the yard was the big thing. And I realized, I like to have a pretty yard, but I'm not the one that likes to do it. I'm not great with flowers and all this. I can copy what I see in a book, but, and there's nothing the matter with that. But I didn't find a lot of pleasure. I like to lay in the sun and pool, but,
Me too. Me too. I'm right
so
there with you.
another thing with it is expenses. When you realize that, we moved from a home to a condo. And one of the main things people say is, oh, you've got this, you're going to have condo fees and that kind of thing. What we were paying in electricity, pool upkeep, um it was just ridiculous. And so even making that change and paying condo fees, it's still money saving. When we first
Mhm.
moved into the condo and we got our first electricity bill and it was $63.
Oh, my.
I said to myself,
I
now I
didn't know they made them that low.
I know. I said to myself, now I remember why we wanted to do this.
Right, and
Because,
you're not paying to water your yard and all of those things
right.
either, so
And another sign is when your children start saying things to you like, this is too much for y'all. This is your grown children begin to say that, you need to listen. Because one of the things I see in real estate is when people wait too late. Somebody told us, I think when my parents were, getting elderly, somebody said to my family, if you don't get your parents out of their family home in their 70s, chances are you're not going to get them out. And no matter how big the home is,
mhm.
it gets overwhelming. And then the task of moving is too difficult. And if you leave all of your years and years and years of belongings for your children to go through, it's very overwhelming.
For sure, and I've recently had friends who have had to almost insist that their parent
Oh, yeah.
sold their home, and that was a very painful process,
Oh, yes.
for everybody because
Right.
they had not made the parent had not made the decision to do it ahead of
Yeah.
time, and so she was very resistant to doing it when the time came, and so it
Mhm.
just has not been fun for anybody concerned.
Right. Right.
How would you handle that if you had a parent, because you've been on the other side of this with yours and your husband's parents too.
Yes. Yes. Mainly my parents. But I think the main thing, my parents kind of saw the handwriting on the wall. They realized, my five children are gone. Even though their house was not a big home, they wanted to be closer to family. And, you know, there's a proverb that says, there's a proverb that says, when you get old, people take you by the hand and take you places you do not want to
Oh,
go.
hmm.
And so if you can make that choice on your own, it just saves so much stress for your family.
Oh, that is such a great, great point. So once you made that decision, you knew it was time. Like that seems like the most overwhelming thing in the world. I hate to move, period.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but if you're moving to at least the same size or a bigger house, I think it takes a lot of that stress out. But then having all of the accumulation and having to make all of those decisions, like what are those steps to actually begin the process?
Well, first of all, you're thinking about it. You're thinking. And, being a real estate agent, I had showed a lot of condos. And, subconsciously, I'm thinking I could do this. I couldn't do this. I'd have to have this. And so one of the things that's really important in making that decision is what can I do without and what do I value? What you value is very important. I'm talking about your physical things at this point.
Right, right.
What things do you really value that you want to take with you that you don't want to leave behind? And what things you can do without. And as we were, looking, I have a grand piano. And so my husband said, well, I know you're going to want to take the piano. I said, yes, I am. So one of the issues was trying to find a place where the piano didn't look like it was in the kitchen, because when you're going to a condo, you got to. So anyway, I valued my piano. But then you start looking around and think, well, what do I really, really want? And what do I really need? And recently I had a client that came from California, and I didn't really know if they were downsizing or not, but every home I started showing her, she was like, oh, this isn't big enough. This isn't big enough. And I'm thinking, what is she wanting to replicate what she's got in California or what? Well, then she said to me, I have European antiques that are family pieces that I will not get rid of. And they sounded huge because, you know,
Mhm.
European antiques are a lot different than American antiques. And so that's something, I mean, she could still downsize. She's in a huge home in California, but there's a lot of people that downsize from 6,000 square feet to 3,000. And, you know, that I know that's shocking, but there's a lot of people that do. And so she just, you know, she values those because they're family pieces.
Mhm.
Okay, something you don't really need to value is how many, you know, Americans have so much stuff. Kim, you were at a ladies retreat with us when we
Oh,
had these
yeah.
gals from Africa that came and spoke to us, you know, and it was overwhelming because their lifestyle is so simple. And so you just have to realize, you know, in my kitchen, how many wooden spoons do I need? I want every woman after this to go look in your kitchen and
Go
see how
check
many.
those drawers. How many do you have?
It's ridiculous because you just have so many. I mean, you may have 15 wooden spoons. You may have 10. You really need about 2, maybe 3.
Exactly.
How many
Exactly.
spatulas do you have? How many, you know, those kind of things. And so one of the first steps for me was I actually, you know, I think I did either a yard sale or a neighborhood yard sale, made a trip to the Goodwill. But when I really started the process, I started packing away everything that I thought I wanted to sell. I started going through closets, drawers, everything I wanted to sell, but I thought I can do without this. I can
Mhm.
do it. And still my house was full of things. I had a garage full of boxes of things that we were going to sell in an estate sale. And so the first stage was I started going through and packing up what I didn't want or what I didn't need. I think in that 8 months, I may have opened 1 box or 2 at the most and got one thing out that I thought I might need.
Mm.
So it just starts, it starts to come home, you know, what do I value? What do I not value? And, you know, listen, I've had this happen where I'll go into a house and I'll see, in fact, I was showing a house one day and we opened the guest room. And if there was 1 doll in there, there was probably 50. And, you know, back in the day, I was a doll lover. Well, I still have my childhood dolls. Okay. So I value those. But I got rid of so many little tchotchkes that were sitting around because you just don't need them. You really don't need them.
For sure. I remember reading a book on decluttering one time, and that was one of the suggestions that he said, you know, you make your keep, your giveaway, your sell, and then he said, have one more box and call it emotional withdrawal.
Oh
And it's
yeah.
like all the things, like you
Yeah.
said, you're not sure, but if you keep them there and if you never go back to that box to look for them, you can just ship it off because you're not going to look. And so, and
Right.
that makes so much sense. And so
Right.
many times, if it is you break your wooden spoon, it doesn't cost that much to go buy a new wooden spoon
No,
instead of
no.
having to house all of them.
Yes. And I mean, I have to say that I got rid of 80% of my belongings.
Oh my,
80%. That's a lot.
that is a lot for
I mean,
anybody.
even furniture. I mean, I got rid of furniture. I mean, sometimes it was just refreshing. I go in a lot of houses and it's really refreshing to see uh, just totally different styles, things that are put together well. And so we started planning to have an estate sale. And so the first step was boxing things away. And we've all heard, you know, you've got to, when you're decluttering, give away, keep, or sell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, my plan was, like I said, I started planning for that sale really about 10 months ahead of time. And at that point, I didn't know where we were going. Yeah, I didn't know how big I was going to. So
Right.
but I knew that with those things, I could go without.
Well, I mean, that was a good start for sure. How long did that process take from the time you guys made the decision until you found your place? And then was it like an urgent thing, like, okay, it's go time, we have to sell this stuff now?
Yes, yes, right. I had fortunately packed, lots of things away that I knew I was going to get rid of. But then there was, big furniture items that I didn't know. Once we found the condo, it was in August. We put a contract on it. And the plan was we moved in the 1st of October. And I actually, so for that little time period, I decided, now, how am I going to do this? And so at that point, I really started paring down what I knew would fit in the place and what wouldn't. And, you have family, you have items that you might want to give to your family. I called my daughter-in-law and said, would you like this? I called my sisters. And, we all have those certain treasures that we love. And then there's other treasures that you look and you say, you know what? I have enjoyed those lamps for 40 years. Bye. They're going to somebody else. I mean, and I sold some things that I really loved, but I just looked at it and said, I had that for 40 years and I loved it. And it's okay to let go of it. And, so once I started the process, and, I know one of my questions on there was, how did I decide, to do the estate sale? There's a difference in having a big yard sale and an estate sale.
Okay.
And I said, I'm having an estate sale, which is going to last 3 days. And I know on there, one of the questions was, what do I hire somebody to do it?
Right, right.
And fortunately, I have to say, I have an awful lot of friends, including Kim, who really helped me. And so, I had people that helped me pack. I had people that helped me box things up. But I decided that I wanted to do a 3-day estate sale. And I hired a family member to actually run the estate sale. I pulled out everything I wanted. I borrowed tables from people. I set up things. And then I said, I'll try to get as much priced as I can. And she came in a day before and really put the finishing touches on it. And she was the face of the sale.
She
And
did
then
a phenomenal job too.
She was amazing. She
So
was amazing.
if you have somebody in your family that's quite capable and does things like that, then you would say that's a better fit for
Yes.
you to even hire
Right.
them rather than going to a big estate sale company.
Yes, because the estate sale companies are great. I mean, I can't even imagine if I had hired somebody, because, okay, for instance, I'm having something I'm going to sell. When I started going through my file cabinet, I found the paperwork for that item.
Right.
And so I thought, now, if somebody was doing this, that's a huge job. And they take about 40%, 30 to 40% of your, and that's, it is well worth it if you want somebody to do that, because it's a big job.
It is, for sure. For sure. So you can save money if you do it yourself or have friends and family help.
Yes.
But at the end
Yes.
of the day, just getting it done
It's a
is
big
really
job.
key. And the other thing that, because you've always been so good at decorating, because you've really done that for yourself and for other people over all of the years, but you totally changed your decor style too, right? Like, so, and I think that is so, that's another thing of just reinvention, right? Like, okay, I've enjoyed these lamps for 40 years, but what can I do different now? And you just really leaned into that and embraced that whole process of creating something new that you still love.
You know what? That's where looking, you can go look at model homes all the time and you get ideas looking at model homes. And then I'm always looking at, people's homes that are for sale, or sometimes listing them, sometimes whatever. And so nothing is more appealing than coming into a house and it's free of clutter. It's clean, it's easy. And so that I said, you know what, that's what I want, at this stage of my life. how much do I want to cook? How much do I want to clean? How much do I want to tend to things? And so I went with a very contemporary lifestyle. You know, I said, I got to have a couple of shelves or something to put my tchotchkes on, you know. And, but I had to go simple. I had to go simple and just, and so I went to a very modern style because I'd enjoyed a lots of family things and lots of little things that sit around. I still have some, and I love home accessories, but you know, one of the things we do when we stage a home is, oh boy, is to don't leave anything in your house smaller than a cantaloupe. Wow.
Oh,
Okay. So
I've
in other
never
words,
heard that.
okay, if you've got a mantle, say you have a mantle above your fireplace.
I'm looking around at all the
can't
stuff
see
I
your
need to get
mantle.
rid of.
Don't worry, I can't see your mantle.
I'm in my
But
office, but I'm looking at my shelf with all these little bitty
oh, that's what we do.
tchotchkes
We
on
do.
them.
We have lots of little things. And so when we go to stage a house, we take out everything that's smaller than a cantaloupe, you know, and so because big accessories are much more eye-catching. And so, you know, when you go in, when I go in and I may take one or two little things, but I'll arrange them so that it's not overwhelming. Because when you come in and you see a wall of little pictures,
Mhm.
it has no focus at all.
Right.
If you open a door and you see a wall with like 10 4x6 pictures that are just covering that wall, that it's very overwhelming. It has no focus
It
at all.
doesn't give your eye a place to land.
That's a great way
Yeah.
to describe it.
Yeah.
That's great. Because if you have one eye-catching accessory, you're like, oh, wow, isn't that pretty? You know,
Yeah.
one or two big things. And so it just makes a really big difference.
It does. And so I love that. I've often thought, you know, it's like if you look at your house through the eyes of somebody who might be coming in interested in buying it, like
Yeah.
what all should really not even be there.
Yeah.
So it helps to go through, because you know, you have to declutter all the time. It's like
Oh,
you're
yeah.
always bringing new stuff in and old stuff has to go. So
Yeah.
but you really did handle all of that so well. Was it emotionally charged for you at all? Like, did you have regrets of having to, you know, leave behind things? It sounds like you really embraced it in such a beautiful, healthy way, but I know that that could still be, you know, stuff, memories are tied to stuff sometimes. And
Yes.
so,
Yes. Yeah. You know, it was, like I said, it comes back to value. Excuse me. It comes back to valuing things because you narrow down your desire of what you value. You know, I have these glass, I don't even know what they're called. They're vases, but they can be candle holders. They
okay.
belong to my husband's grandmother. I've never seen another set of them in antique stores. I saw one set like them, but it was white, and mine are blush pink. And I that's one thing that I just value. I just, you know, I've just really loved those for years. So I pull them out and put them on my piano, you know, once or twice a year. But you just emotionally, you have to just separate your things. You know, well, I'll tell you what, about, I had a big box of my mother's diaries. Oh my goodness. My mom
Wow.
was, you know, I thought, I said later, they weren't like extremely personal. I mean, she had a diary. She wrote every day in a diary for like 20 or 30 years.
And kept them all?
Yes. And I had them. And so I was like, I can't get rid of these. So I brought them with me in a box. And I said to each of my sisters, okay, you read through these. And if you find something entertaining or funny, let us know.
That
so,
was smart. Split it up
well,
between all of you to figure out what was really important to
yeah,
keep.
right. And I mean, sometimes it's just really sweet because, you know, I'll read some things about it, but I thought, you know, this is something that's, you just kind of hard to let go
Yeah,
of. But I have a friend to share something with me that really helped me at, especially if you're going through your parents' things or
I've done that.
is that, you know, you're going to open a box of hundreds of pictures and you're like, that was their trip to Italy. That was their vacation. And it's really their personal things. It's not your vacation. And it's
Right.
not. And so some of those pictures you just have to kind of let go because it's their life, not your life.
That's so interesting. One of the things that I'm finding with the younger generation that's coming up, I have other friends, we've talked about that too, is that in trying to decide what you're going to pass on to your kids and their
Yeah.
kids, you know, they don't want them.
Oh my God.
Like
I
the
was
kids don't want this stuff, you know, they don't want to be burdened down with it. And so it's like, really, you don't want all of these pictures? I mean, I don't know who they are either, but I mean, they're
yeah.
family, right? Like, don't you
Oh
want
yeah.
them? No, they
Yes. You
don't.
know what?
They're making their own
I've had
memories.
multiple people tell me their kids didn't want their furniture, their kids didn't want this, their kids didn't want that. So, you know, it really is a choice. But you know, one of the best things that you can do is, and we have moved lots of times. So when I came back here, I went to a friend of mine's house. Well, actually, I didn't know her until I moved back here. Same age as me, married the same length of time. And she said, "Oh, get a coffee cup in there," you know. So I opened up the cabinets, and she had the same set of coffee cups that I had bought like 40 years ago. And I was thinking, wow, now I got rid of those 45 years ago. So, but she didn't. And
Mhm.
so everybody has things that they've held on to for a long time. And sometimes your kids don't want them. They don't give a rip.
Nope, they
They're
they
like,
don't, that's for sure.
yeah. I was thankful that my daughter-in-law, I picked out a few things that, and I said, you know, you don't want to just throw them on them. So I was like, I was just wondering if you would really like this.
I
And
offer my kids first too, and they usually say, no, it's okay. Give it to Goodwill.
she did say a few times, "Oh, I really love that." And I was like, "Oh, good. That made me feel good." So, you know, but
You always ask. I think you always ask, as
that's
long as
right.
you don't
That's right.
expect them to haul off your stuff because so I remember I did that. My sister and I went back to my mom's house after she passed and went through all of her things and we gave anything that was good. There was a women's shelter that she
Oh,
supported that we gave
right.
to, but there was so much that we just had to bag up
Yeah.
because nobody would want it and or could use it, but she just kept them. She kept it all very organized too.
Yes.
But
That's
when we
good.
were finished, I think I counted up, it was over 20 giant trash bags of
Oh,
things out of the that we had at the curb for garbage to come and pick up.
oh
And
gosh.
nobody wanted 20 bags worth of stuff. And I remember that impacted me because I went home and I thought, I died right now, how many bags of stuff would be out on my lawn, like that nobody wants.
It's
So,
kind of frightening.
so yeah, so we're doing our kids a favor, I think, when we
You
sometimes
are so right.
just
You
get
know,
rid of things.
one time when I was living in Charleston and I was doing a women's thing, and so at our church, and so we had a home accessory trade-off.
Oh, that's fun.
It was really fun. And we had everybody bring one or two. You couldn't bring a lot of little things. You brought one or two or maybe three items in your home that you wanted somebody else to enjoy. And so we put them all on a table, and then everybody, you had numbers, and everybody, like each table went up and picked some things. And I mean, there were some beautiful things that I remember somebody bought this gorgeous picture that was, you know, that they'd had above their sofa, and they said, we just moved it, and
Mhm.
it was expensive. It was a nice picture. And one little girl, young married girl, was so excited to get that. At the end, there was a bunch of junk. There was a lot of little craplets, you know, sorry. And And so we just put them all on the table, and we said, now we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but this stuff should have been sold at a yard sale about 10 years ago. Because that's what happens.
For sure. But I mean, that's a lovely way of being able to share things that you
Oh,
loved
yeah.
once, but you don't need anymore. And it would be new to somebody
Yes.
else. And
Right.
then they can get rid of it years from
Yeah.
now.
And then they can take it to a thrift store.
For sure. So one more question, and I was just looking on here. I don't see that anybody has hopped on to join us, so I'm not sure if it was the time, but it will live live in this group. And so I just want to encourage anybody who is watching this after the fact to feel free to drop comments in here or questions. If you have more questions to ask Martha after, we finish this up, she is in this group and she will be happy to come in and answer your questions and
Right,
respond to your
absolutely.
comments. So
Absolutely.
I have one last question to ask about all of this process, and that has to do with how did downsizing affect the rest of your family? Like, you had the big home that all the kids could come to and, all
Right.
of that. So how
Yeah.
did things change there for you?
Well, that was a little bit of an adjustment. And we explained to the grandkids, we explained to them that this house, even though we've loved it, it was a lot for us. It was a lot for us to keep up. It was a lot. And so I've just slowly started pushing the baton to my daughter-in-law and saying, we need to have the big events at your house and I'll help you, because I mean, I have people over, but I'm not comfortable having any over big groups because my place is small. And so, and what you said, the thing about redecorating it in a new style, that really was refreshing to me, because to go from large to small and make a big difference in style was helpful. It really was. And my grandkids, they've said, Mom, maybe we missed the pool. We missed the pool. And I'm like, well, you have a nice one in your neighborhood.
And you have one in your neighborhood too, like in your condo unit. There are places to go. It doesn't have to be, it's convenient in your backyard. I think if I had to downsize at this point, that's probably the thing I would miss the most, is being able to walk out my back door to a swimming pool. But as long as I can get to water,
that's right. That's right. That's right. And so, and the kids have said that they missed it sometimes, but we're trying to make new memories, do new things, go to different, situations, so that is a memory, but you go forward, and everybody has to go forward in their life no matter what your situation is. Things cannot always stay the same. So you just have to.
We don't want them to really, right?
No.
We don't really want them to all stay the same, because we even at our ripe old ages, we keep growing, we keep changing, we keep adapting and wanting to try new things. And I think that is important when the kids can start taking over some of those big family holiday meals and get-togethers and everything. They're going to have to be taking it on anyways down the road. So why not go ahead while they're, you can help them too and give them guidance and how to do all the things and be a part of it and help support and prepare and do whatever. I love that.
Yeah. So, and you just learn it. I mean, we had to learn how to do an event at our house. And so our kids learn that as well.
They do.
And when we moved into our place here, the piano kind of filled in where the dining room has been. And that was one thing that I was missing, is kind of having a table to have people over. So we fixed up our porch so we can have, a couple over for dinner. And, the hospitality gift is not about what things look like and how big something is. It's about having an open heart and an open home.
That's so true.
No matter what the size is, you have to be, still keep that in focus.
Yeah, and you have the hospitality gift in
Oh,
spades.
thank you.
I remember that like you had like different dishes for every occasion. Like, so even just downsizing that and saying, these are the dishes we're going to have for every occasion
Yeah,
now.
yeah. And you know what? Let me tell you a little tip about that real quick is when I got ready to move things, I had sets of 8 of everything, sometimes sets of 12. And so some things that I really like, I said, okay, I'm keeping 4 of those glasses, selling 4, keeping 4, selling 4 plates, keeping 4 plates. And I did that with, I mean, uh, especially with glasses,
That's
you know.
really smart because you still can keep some of the things that you love and still have things to rotate, but you just don't have
Yeah,
all of it.
right.
That's a
Yeah.
great tip.
And then people in the stores, I mean, you go in stores, you always find groups of 4, you know.
Right, right. That's amazing. All right. Well, do you have any last words of wisdom that you would like to share on this topic before we wrap?
You know, I just say go forward in your life, you know, don't be afraid to go forward and do what needs to be done sometimes. And you have, if you ask people to help you, um, I tell you, I had so much help from people. And don't be afraid to make that next step. And you may be able to stay where you are. You may be able to stay just where you are. But there does come a time when you have to make changes and just put on your big girl shoes and say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make a change and go forward.